goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Thanks for having us. This is a very cool show.
Yeah, so through many iterations, and we finally landed on the weirdest one by far.
Yeah, simple feelings, and boom, you got a sound.
I remember this one time. I had been writing some songs, and I went out. I'm just going right in on this story. I went out, and so I was.
The story's longer than the song itself. We'll go ahead and play it.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot, up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, the captivating grooves and brassy swagger of MarchFourth. Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Hello, welcome everyone. I am your host, Philip Reese.
Good evening. I am your co-host, David Moore.
And this is
your next favorite band.
TM.
On that.
This is your next favorite band, TM.
Yeah.
We trademarked. How about that?
Cool.
Right? Super cool. So we went through the effort to kind of do the research and found out that we can do it. So we decided to trademark it, and there you go. Your next favorite band, TM.
And now we get to, I don't know, I think, pit fight people when they use it
Correct.
in a way that we don't like it? Is that the way it works?
Right. If someone uses it or anything near it, we can literally take a gauntlet and throw it on the ground. And then, we
very
choose
gentlemanly
weapons.
of us at the same time.
We choose weapons, yes.
Right. So
that's a fight to the death, and then whoever wins keeps it.
Okay, I was thinking maybe something a little more subtle than that, but cool. That feels reasonable.
Yes, reasonable. Exactly. So anyway, that was exciting. So we went ahead and we're getting congratulations. Thank you, Neural Freak. So we're loving the chat. We got the chat active already. So but very exciting move there. For us to kind of progress down this path and keep things safe and tidy and all our own. And I think we're continuing our massive momentum shift as we moved here into the fall with just banger after banger of interviews, and tonight will be no different.
Yeah, tonight should be a very good one. Tonight is a sort of a unique one in your and my personal history.
There's so much to dive into on this here. We've got lots of history to talk about. There's even it's another one on the wall. So like behind me is the Stereophilia Studio wall of fame. The people who have been interviewed already is up here is Blair Crimmins. Down here is Freak Bass, and actually, if you think about it, jazzy, super stylish, funky bass, and all of a sudden now, here comes MarchFourth. I'm going to take it off the wall and show you.
So for anybody that's listening to this, Phil is holding a photo up of MarchFourth.
How's that look? So
it looks good. A lot of reflection. We'll get a better version of that photo later in the video, though, because I know it is ready to go.
True. Right. Yeah. Here is that same picture.
That one. That's
the one that's in the frame. And it's from previously checking out MarchFourth at Music Fest, which is where we saw them, and then been finding them out. So yeah, there you are. Spoiler alert. Tonight's interview is with a band called MarchFourth.
Yes. And as I mentioned, it's unique in our personal history as this was actually the first concert you and I intentionally went to together.
Correct.
Versus just like meeting up somewhere or running into each other or something like that. But we actually made an actual like road trip.
Yes. It was
to
out
go
to
see them.
Yeah, so we're in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. They were playing in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Not a short drive, not a long drive,
Yeah,
but
a drive.
but as you know, when we love somebody's music, we will drive to go see them, and we drove that distance to go check them out. And it was one of those ones where a lot of times I will buy the tickets for the price of the show that I feel it's worth. So sometimes it's like a $10 ticket or a $20 ticket, but I'm like, I'm just going to buy more tickets because I want to support the band. And so obviously at this point, no one was joining me. So I was like, hey, David, I think you like March 4th. And he was like, sure. I was like, well, I have extra tickets. Would you be interested in one of our bad life choices? I think it was a weeknight, and we had to drive.
It was a weeknight. I think it was a Thursday.
Yep. And headed all the way out there. Dinner, the show, incredible. They blew it out the doors, and then we headed back home. But yeah, that's true. That's the very first time that there was like adventure in our music, our live music, pursuit.
The Indiana Jones moment.
Yes, yeah, exactly. In search of the Holy Grail. So,
yeah,
so anyway,
the whole thing.
I'm again checking out the chat. There's lots of people tuning in tonight who do know March 4th, and we love that. Thank you so much for checking in. I can't wait till we bring them on and answer a lot of people's questions. If you have anything that you want answered, either already or maybe as you're listening, feel free to throw that into the chat as well. But for many of you that maybe haven't heard of March 4th, and our hope here is to make them your next favorite band. We would like to, as we typically do here in the open, share some of their music and a little bit of a bio. They've got brand new music, and this came out recently, and the video has little clips of their live shows kind of edited together. So later on, we're going to actually show you just a full-blown live show, because that's kind of where everything goes bonkers when it comes to how amazing these people are. But here is Evening the Source by March 4th, brand new music from them, and then we'll kind of bring them on the show. So you can get a sense for the jazz and the funk and these amazing outfits that they always wear. It's just an onslaught. Some of the different phrases I've picked up during the research there was like a flamboyant explosion of brassy funk. Sgt. Pepper meets Cirque du Soleil. This was great. This one article just said, "Holy hot brass and ass-shaking wow."
Well, let's see how that all comes together. March 4th is a kaleidoscope of musical and visual energy that inspires unabashed dancing in an atmosphere of celebration, with costumes inspired by band camp meets circus. The band consists of electric bass guitar, 4-piece percussion corps, a 7-part brass section, dancers, acrobatics, stilt-walkers, and a very diverse musical repertoire. Far from a marching band in a traditional sense, they have been known to swagger down Main Street playing a few tunes before taking the stage. March 4th travels in one big tour bus, bringing a unique brand of party wherever they go. Their show is a sonic journey with worldwide influences, echoing the deepest grooves of American funk, rock, and jazz, then boiling it all together in cinematic fashion with showmanship, flair, and most of all, heart. This genre-busting, joy-inducing, in-your-face experience is not to be missed. Founded in Portland, Oregon in 2003, bassist John Averill put the band together for a Fat Tuesday party on March 4th. Thus, March 4th, the band was born. 2023 will mark March 4th's 20th anniversary and continue as a genre-breaking force of entertainment.
It sure is. Gosh, it's so good. And I'm so happy to see them writing new music and putting that out there too. So we've already brought them on the screen here. In addition to John, we're also welcoming to the show Daniel Lombard, Kylie Wagner, Ethan and Miss Hell.
Hey!
So let's take the music out so that we can bring everybody on the screen here more effectively. Check this out.
Full house tonight.
Oh, you think this is a full house? This is a fraction.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like this is actually very indicative of a MarchFourth show. You guys typically have probably 13 musicians on stage plus 2 or 3 or 4 performers, either acrobats and stilt-walkers and stuff. So having a lot of people on the screen is very indicative of a show here.
Yeah. So I guess MarchFourth is in the house. The ADU version of the house. There's a lot more of us, but that'll probably make for a simpler podcast.
Absolutely. So anyway, yeah, welcome, and like I was saying there, the brand new music that is out there. I was noticing as I looked back at the different music that was released, just real quick here, and we can kind of go into it a little bit later. But there was like a live album in 2007, then Rise Up in 2009, Magnificent Beast in 2011. Then there was a 5 or 6 year window there where Magic Number then came out in 2017. So I was hoping 5 years or 6 years here might be where another album's about to come out. So the new music was getting me pretty excited there.
Yeah, it's long overdue. We went to the studio in early 2018 and started work on more than an album's worth of material. And then we had some interruptions. We had to, our bus number 3 died, so we had to spend all of our money buying bus number 4. And then COVID hit and all blah, blah, blah. So the good news is we're picking up where we left off. I'm actually supposed to be in the studio today, but I forgot about this podcast. But, we're finishing up a bunch of songs. The only holdup is the vinyl situation. It takes like a year to get vinyl printed, but at least we'll probably be able to get some CDs out and start releasing stuff in the next few months.
Yeah, you're right about. I do hear that quite a bit where things are delayed, especially vinyls. But it is incredibly important to support, like you're saying there. Like we usually mention this, at some point, and we might as well do it now. That the merch is the best way to support your efforts. So whether that's vinyls or T-shirts or whatever, buying straight from the band is huge. In fact, I'm wearing my MarchFourth T-shirt today. Bought straight from the website, so definitely a way to kind of make sure that if you're enjoying the music, it's the best way to make sure that you guys get supported in that way to keep producing all the great music and being out there for the shows.
Yeah, thank you. It's better to get it straight from the band because we don't cut it. If you order it somewhere else, you might get a T-shirt with one sleeve.
And actually, you mentioned the bus there. That was going to be something I brought up too. That thing is like a transformer, isn't it? Like it has like bunk beds and kitchens and stuff that come out of the walls. Is that right?
Yeah, it all converts. We take like these old Greyhound. Huh? What's that?
I think Ethan was saying something.
He keeps freezing on the
it's
screen here.
more than meets the eye.
It's more than meets the eye.
Absolutely. Every time somebody moves something, it makes that noise.
It's more like
noise.
It's more like more than meets the aisle. We have an aisle. Everything else is, it converts. All the seats converted to bunks, and we just basically have an old Greyhound bus. We cut the interior of it and put our kids in it. The interior of our bus is actually from bus number 2. So we just every time our bus breaks down, we just replace the interior.
That is incredible, and it's the 4th one.
Yeah.
Wow.
We buy used buses and we drive them all over the country until they can't go anymore, and they're not cheap.
I'm sure they're not. You guys did a Kickstarter for one at one point in time in your history.
Yeah, that was bus number 2. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and in fact, we had a chat from Mitchell said to ask questions about their handsome bus driver.
That is the bus driver.
I kind of figured that he was.
Yeah.
He's funnier than all of us.
It's true.
Hey, we got Mars now.
Hey.
Are you
right?
So this might be a good time to maybe go around the room here. Let's introduce people. John, why don't we start with you? Introduce yourself and because you're one of the founding members of the band and kind of like a master of concepts and of sorts. And so if you could do that and then maybe hand it off to other people in the band and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm John Averill, master of concepts and shorts. I like that. I also attempt to play the bass in MarchFourth and wrangle musicians, falling under the category of band leader, which is a term I use loosely.
I'll take next. I'm Kylie. I'm part of the dance team, but was initially brought on as part of the lighting and tech department, actually, and then just kind of folded myself into the circus somehow. So I'm part of the entertainment side of things.
It's your ability to fold that got you into the gig.
Right.
That's what you're literally specifically referencing there. Very well played.
Precisely.
He's really plug his peanut butter. Ask him about his peanut butter.
Yeah.
We'll come back to the peanut butter. That I'm intrigued by.
Yeah, and also AKA Texas Toast Hands.
That's correct. Yes.
Which go Google that one and enjoy that. Daniel, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name's Daniel. I'm one of the trumpet players. Been playing with MarchFourth about 4 years or so now.
Excellent.
Since 2018. Yeah.
And you have another band too called Motus, is that right?
Oh yeah, we actually just recently changed our name to Hard Maybe. But yeah,
And that's not definitive.
it's not. But yeah, I do. It's a neo soul group based out of Seattle. I just wrapped up recording in the studio last weekend. A new single will release pretty soon here. So
Very cool. Very cool. Welcome to the show. Ethan?
Shorter, Louisiana today, representing the drums. I guess.
You need to get off the Wi-Fi.
Okay. I can do that. I know how to do that.
There was just a slight delay, but we got there. He's part of the percussion section and was yelled at by Miss Hell. So, Miss Hell, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Michelle, Miss Hell Shorter. I'm Ethan's wife. I play the saxophone in MarchFourth. I play alto and baritone as of late, and captain of the Joy Scouts and Mischief Makers. I'm also the loudest, possibly loudest person on the bus. Anyway, it's me and Daniel really fighting. Oh yeah, it's been 12 years. It's been a long time. Yeah, I just made it.
That's quite a run.
12th year, so
Should be like a coin or a patch that we should give out or something, you know.
Yeah, or just like a piece of flair to wear on your outfit, like after every
Or Joy Scout jackets.
yeah, every couple of years or whatever. And Mars.
Neckerchief.
Yes, I'm here. I think I'm here. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
you are.
Fantastic. I just reloaded the thing. I think we're doing intros. Is that
Yes,
correct?
we are. Yeah, correct.
I've been in the band about 8 years, and I'm a trombone player.
And you look like you're at high velocity speed at this point right now.
Yes, I am. I was helping my friend Ted move a couch, and thought the connection was going to work out there, and it didn't work so well. So Ted's driving me into town right now.
I was hoping you weren't driving yourself, because that would have been a violation.
Absolutely not. Am I as zoomed in as I look on the composite?
You're you're very close.
Yeah, back it up a little.
You got the biggest head to go, bro.
It was still early in the relationship. I wasn't going to bring that up, but
I appreciate that.
but at some point we were gonna have words. But yeah. Thank you all. Welcome to the show. We are super honored to have you on. It's definitely big time. It's interesting. So if we just roll back a little bit to kind of when this show was getting its own legs back in May and June. Prior to that point, everyone who we had on was from Music Fest 2021, and we were getting ready for Music Fest 2022. And so we were always just kind of using that as our pipeline for guests and interviews. But as I was sitting there, just kind of thinking through, well, where do I want this show to go to now that it kind of can do its own thing? I just sitting there, I was like, let me create a wish list of who I would want to be on the show, irrespective of whether they performed at Music Fest or not. And you were in that wish list, and I started reaching out, and there were, obviously responses, and people were interested, and so here we are. So like your like in that category of people who just we saw. I think I mentioned it before. Music Fest 2016 was the first time I ever saw you guys, and since then, every year at Music Fest. But then also, like we mentioned, David and I drove out to Harrisburg to go see you guys. I actually flew to Chicago once just to see you guys. It was a St. Patrick's Day show. So anyway, it's something where I think your sound is amazing. I think your show is even just blows that out of the water, and it's so worth it to the level of I will definitely go and see it wherever I possibly can, and I encourage lots of other people to kind of go see it as well. So that's my little thank you to you all for coming on the show. I'm super kind of pumped for this.
Sweet, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that plug. I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's the other part too is like, unfortunately, and I only use that for the fact of just how great the live show is. Like to watch the videos, to listen to the music, it pales in comparison to the energy of a live show when you have 13 to 15 people just so in sync the way you guys are, and then stilt-walkers and acrobats and such like that. Like it's just such an amazing onslaught. Like these labels that people gave you in articles are so true and so apt. That I just think it's one of those things where, trust us, go check them out live. And unfortunately for us, where we're based, a lot of your stuff right now is happening western half of the country. And so my hope here is that we, at some point, can get you back coming onto the East Coast. But for now, we'll just promote what you got going on there. It's a lot of, Colorado and Northwest kind of stuff. So we'll bring that up a little bit later. But people should definitely check out the live show when and wherever they can. But if you don't mind, let me bring up here. There's this very cool picture that got released recently because you were just performing at Burning Man. And so if you don't mind, maybe if you could call out some of the other band members who aren't on the show tonight and just give them a little bit of cred as well for who's in this picture.
Sure. Oh, yeah. There's Will. And there's Lana, and there's Alicia, and Josh, and there's Corey, and there's James. I can't tell if Anthony or Pablo are in there.
Sure.
I see him.
All right.
Yeah, I'm counting 19 or 20 some odd people in that picture. So that, again, kind of speaks to what MarchFourth is all about. So go ahead, John.
Oh, it's cool. I mean, we had a couple, we've been touring with 7 horns, but we had 2 extra horns at Burning Man. They happened to be Anthony Mead and Paul Chandler, who are 2 of the principal songwriters for the material that we've been playing for the last few years that's going to be released. So Burning Man was kind of cool that way. We had extra horns, and it was those guys, and yeah, it was a good time.
Awesome. Well, I have one of the videos here that you guys kind of shot when you were there to kind of give, again, a little more flavor of your music and a little bit of flavor of what Burning Man is about. So I'm going to let that play a little bit. I'll bring the volume down, and maybe you can share a little bit more about kind of what the madness of Burning Man is all about. But
Played with us at Burning Man. He's singing, playing guitar, and Heidi's playing percussion. I didn't mention them. It's too many of us, see?
That's why you just got to go check it out.
It's an ever-changing mix of people, too. I mean, I can't say how many different combinations of this band have existed over the course of my, I don't know, coming up on 10 years in the group.
Yeah, I figured if you factor in the personnel, including like the bus driver and the merch seller and whoever's doing lights or sound with the various performers and musicians, I don't think any 2 tours have ever been identical as far as the roster. I don't think. We've had some runs of consistency, but it's pretty rare there isn't like one tiny change.
It's pretty amazing too with how tight you guys always sound with that much change. It just shows how everyone is completely bought in. Daniel, I know you needed to run at the top of the hour here, so
I do pretty soon.
Yeah, if you wanted to maybe share a couple thoughts about, anything, don't worry about if it's Burning Man or not, just kind of in general, anything you wanted to share before you had to run.
Nothing in particular. I'd say one of the things that this band does that pertains to me specifically is it's really been a pipeline, like kind of picking up younger musicians around the Northwest and really helping them like build a career. It seems like, I mean, a lot of people who've been involved could say that they were one of those people. I definitely was. I had just gotten out of college, and they kind of scooped me up, and here I am 4 years later still playing. And I don't think I'd be like as a person or as a trumpet player if I hadn't ended up with this insane group of people.
That's fantastic. And I'm just loving that too, with the backdrop of the insanity of Burning Man too. That's great.
Yeah, that was an experience for sure.
Yeah. Miss Hell, anything you want to share about Burning Man?
Yeah, it was fun to be kind of a unique and band at Burning Man. And lots of people come up and tell me that they really appreciated it, and it sure was a nice break for many from all the electronic stuff in front of a band. And what an appreciative audience, and we're so blessed to go there and see meet all the artful people and just share in it.
Oh, sure. And Ethan, how about the percussion take on it?
Well, that was a fun one. It's really dark. That was the front porch. That was our first set at Burning Man, and I thought we were lit up a lot, but it was dusty. We were all down in the fly.
I think we're losing his audio there a little bit.
I think
Mars,
he was
how about
trying
you?
to give us the electronic sound from Burning
Yeah, that's
Man.
right. Yeah, it sounded like the after show. And Mars, how about you?
Yeah, Burning Man was incredible. It was just so much art. I've been describing it to people as like living in a giant art gallery that's also the inside of a vacuum cleaner. Are we having audio issues?
Yeah.
I'll mute myself for a minute. I'm about to be somewhere more stable.
No, it's not you. I think it was actually Ethan. So unfortunately, I dropped him.
Yeah, I was just saying I've been describing it as like living in a giant outdoor art gallery that's also a lot like the inside of a vacuum cleaner.
Right.
It's you just see things there. The art that you see there is like nothing else on earth. I mean, there's no where you could build that stuff and display it. Like, so it's absolutely incredible. But at the same time, it's a party, but it's like the most exhausting thing you've ever done. So there's a lot of the camaraderie that goes with just that experience together.
Yeah. So John, I was hoping maybe you could help us jump into like the hot tub time machine and take us back to the beginning. Like David had shared, 2000 and actually I'm even gonna, I think if I get this right, pre 2003, you go to Burning Man, and you are kind of inspired by this costume driven music kind of party, and then you start putting on your own parties. Is that right, or is that not right?
Yeah, I went to Burning Man in '97, and that same year ended up working in Portland, which ended up moving to Portland. And I would go every year, and that's basically, I was working as an animator, and then that job ended, and I decided to just start something from scratch, which was putting on these shows that were theme based, and putting together temporary bands for these theme parties. And so MarchFourth was I was inspired by, there was a couple bands at Burning Man. One was called Extra Action Marching Band, based out of San Francisco, and they were founded by members who used to be in a band called Crash Worship, a West Coast band that was pretty tribal and bizarre. And then there was a band from Seattle called the Infernal Noise Brigade, and I saw those two bands out there and thought, hey, it'd be kind of fun to do something like that in Portland. So we did a Fat Tuesday party. I didn't really know much about Fat Tuesday. I'd never been to New Orleans, but I put the band together with a couple people. One of them was from New Orleans, and we learned 7 cover tunes for a party, and then it wasn't really designed to keep going. But 2 weeks after that, there was a big anti-Iraq war protest in Portland. March 20th, 2003, and we all decided, hey, we learned these 7 tunes, let's go march around. So we played these same songs for like 3 hours, marching around Portland. It was something about that experience, actually, I think, that made us go, hey, let's do this. So we decided to start meeting every Monday, and at the time we had 4 horns and 10 drummers. So we kind of froze the drum section and then started adding horn players as they came. And then, so within a couple of years, it was 10 drummers, 12 horns, and 10 performers, acrobats, etc. It was like 35 people, and it was a giant social club that mostly played around Portland. And then we started getting touring ambitions around 2006, bought a bus in 2007, got a booking agent in 2010, and then that's when things started to get more streamlined with the band's like half the original size. But
sure,
you know, that's when we were literally MarchFourth marching band, the giant thing. And now MarchFourth is just more of a compact unit. But what's happened, there's been a lot of different evolutionary steps of the project.
Sure.
Like we keep shedding our skin. And this recent incarnation is my favorite. And that's kind of giving me hope to keep going. It also has the camaraderie of the very first band when we weren't making money. We were just playing for fun on the street. Just that sense of everybody's got each other's back and everybody gets along. You know, we've had over 200-300 people come through this band over the last 20 years. And, you know, what I've learned over time is that every person counts.
Sure.
And when we've got what we have right now, it's pretty amazing. So that's kind of why I'm reinvested. You know, we all had a little break there for a couple of years. So I didn't know what kind of band was going to come back when things came back. And things still really haven't come back. You know, touring is still weird. It was already, I can't use the F word, but a cluster F to out there and tour on the road, especially certain times of year.
If you really need to, you can. It's fine.
Yeah, that's all right. You know, I tell my parents about this. But no, it was already challenging and super competitive prior to COVID. So now that things kind of are reopening up, everybody's been trying to get back out there. And I'm just personally just being really patient with it. I feel like the downtime between the relentless touring that we were doing will actually serve us in the long run. I mean, ultimately, I like to tour less, but for larger audiences. And that all gets back to releasing live music that can be heard on the airwaves. Because one thing that we have learned is you go out there on the road with this ideal that, you know, it's all going to be word of mouth, and 2 people are going to tell their 2 friends, and you come back to a town, the numbers are going to keep growing. But there's a ton of bands out there, and not everybody has the money to go out and see their 5 favorite bands on any given month. So they might choose 2, and if they choose us, great. But if not, so the numbers haven't reflected growing just by hitting the road. So we really have to get on the airwaves, which is why the recorded material is probably the most important thing. But and so so we're rolling into our 20th anniversary will actually be this upcoming March 4th, 2020, and I'm hoping to do a lot of different things. But yeah, that's my spiel.
Hopefully it's a year-long celebration, because obviously I'm guessing the 20th, the actual March 4th day, is probably going to be in Portland or something out west. But
yeah, for sure. I really hope to get the East Coast. The only reason we haven't come back to the East Coast is money.
No, I can only imagine. Absolutely.
It takes us 3 days to get out there, and then 3 days to get back, drive the bus. The way that routing works, you can hit some spots in the Midwest, but you really just kind of have to blast out there. I mean, if we could do a residency on the East Coast and had a sponsor that would like cover us, we could hit so many markets out there.
Right.
So well, we were doing well in some markets, but it just kind of dried up. Even before COVID, just there with like a really high-paying anchor gig. But man, I'd like to get back out there. I'd like to get back to New Orleans and Florida and New York and all those places.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, once you get to the East Coast, there's a bunch of places you can play that are relatively distance-wise isn't too bad, but it's that investment of the in and the out that is so brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there is. So you're right. Like, obviously, getting music on airwaves will help, but I think there is also this growing kind of folklore about the shows. Like that's what happened for us. Like even before we went to see it at Music Fest 2016, people were like, "Oh, you got to go check out this band. You won't believe what goes on." So like, we go to the tent, and then we were like, "Holy smokes!" Like that was just crazy. And then, as you can hear, like we are telling other people, and we're also, traveling decently far to go and check out a show. So like, I think there is also a like a live show kind of growth that's happening, that what you guys put into that just kind of starts to speak for itself and really makes some magic.
Hope so.
Well, that first album you guys put out in 2007 is a live album, so that must have been a part of what you were like looking for there, is the kind of like the mixture of the live show and the recording.
Yeah, I mean, our first album technically was just called MarchFourth Marching Band, and it had some live tracks on it, but we also recorded it at our rehearsal space, and then we put that live thing in 2007. The direction that we've gone as far as our recordings is we made the conscious decision. Definitely, we started with Magnificent Beast, that we didn't want to sound like the live show. We wanted to stand out on its own, and we kind of have been going on that trajectory. The last album, the Magic Number record that we recorded in New Orleans, was definitely way more produced than anything that we had done, and that also goes for the new work, the new material that we have. We want to make albums like any other band makes albums, where it just sounds like a great album, and I already have confidence in our live show that we'll always be able to pull these songs off, and they'll always sound slightly different. Like a 3-minute song on a record could be an 8 or 10-minute song live.
Absolutely.
Out. And a lot of the writing that went into this new record was aimed at radio. It was aimed at shorter songs with a lot more. And we started off as an instrumental band, and now there's just a lot more singing, and that's the direction it's going to keep going.
Yeah. So that Magic Number album, you had tremendous producers on it, and even guests. Trombone Shorty is on it. Galactic is on it. So like that must have been super cool. I even heard like the recording of it. You had like isolated areas for the horns, but yet they were playing at the same time, so that you would record it live-ish. Like, but they needed to be able to like kind of be in their own little silo, if you will. Why don't you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that was recorded. I mean, that was recorded at the Parlor in New Orleans. That was a really great experience. Michelle, I think you told me that studio is now closed down or something, which is a shame because it was.
I think so, or he sold it. Yeah, I am tabs on it post COVID, but I think he sold it before COVID happened.
Yeah, you lived like 4 doors down from it, didn't you, at the time?
2 actually. So it was very convenient for
your math is way off, Phil.
Nap time and everything, because you can imagine we're 13 musicians, like you don't need everybody every hour of every day, so,
for sure.
So it was nice to and made it very relaxed compared to some of the other recording sessions we've done.
And it seems like it created like a home base for everybody. Sorry, David, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
That was it. I just wanted to
I was going to speak about recordings, because there's the new recordings that are happening or have happened. And I was wondering if you could speak to the process, how it relates to the Magic Number album. Like you mentioned that there's an evolution, and you've moved forward with sort of that sound a bit from the studio sound forward. Can you talk about how you've done things with that project?
Well, the big difference between the new record or the new material and anything else we've done before is that all the other records that we've made, we had already played the songs a whole bunch live. So we could bring the whole band in the studio and just nail them. And then, or occasionally a couple new songs would be written just before the album was recorded, but we'd at least have some rehearsals and some time to play it as a group. And then we'd also play together. When we got the budget, which was actually a donation from someone, to start the recordings for this recent material, basically Pablo and Anthony and I just decided just to write a whole bunch of stuff. We didn't have the luxury of taking stuff on the road. We didn't have the luxury of like bringing all the drummers in and having them learn songs, because the percussion section, most bands have a kit drummer. We have 4 drummers that make up a kit.
Right.
And the grooves and the chemistry between the people who play those drums, especially, the bass drummer and the snare, a lot of times it takes time, and a lot of times the new material, it needs a lot of reps. It needs going out in the road, you go with cool ideas, and the songs kind of evolve, and then we go into the studio. So this new project, we went in from scratch, and we actually had Ethan play drum kit on the recordings, and then we added other percussion on top of that. So Ethan's right there. I'm pointing at you. The backbone of the drum section, not only live but also just all this recorded material. And I also just want to make a note and stop talking so much, but I want to note that Alicia has joined us. She's one.
I was going to say, we got to have Alicia introduce herself.
Choreography. Why don't you introduce yourself after I get finished my thought here, which is that Kylie and Alicia, Kylie and I are in Portland. Mars and Daniel, until a minute ago, are in Washington. Mars is in Bellingham. Daniel's in Seattle. Ethan and Michelle live in New Orleans, and I just think that's kind of a cool aspect of the band. It sucks because we can't just get together and play whenever we want to. But the reality is our band is spread out over a few different states at this point. But I kind of wanted to hear what Ethan had to say about anything about the recording and anything.
It was kind of a luxury to be in this halls in Portland, which is a great space with some great engineers and producers, or many people that were very capable, all in the mix. So very productive that people were writing songs in one room and editing tracks in the other room and flying console room and tracking live in the main room, all at the same time. We kind of and ratcheted up the tunes to where they were ready to record, but we made enough songs to make 2 albums over the course of a week. On at the same time, which is not anything I'm used to in the studio. It's focusing on one thing of events to get it all done, but to have all that going on, writing and editing, it felt amazing, and it felt very free. We all came together, and compositionally were heard out, and we kept it moving. But we also were able to get a lot of input from a lot of the people who maybe, if you just had a song that somebody wrote and you've already played it, that probably doesn't happen in the studio. You just go in and record it. But this felt like a very kind of organic session to me, and I was super proud that they asked me to play drum kit on it. And then we came in and did drum psych. All the options, it's almost done, I think. And we were able to short amount of time.
That's amazing. Thank you for giving us all the details.
And is that music that's going to come out towards the anniversary date, or what's the plan there?
Hopefully we'll start releasing stuff over the next couple of months. There are 3 songs that are mixed and I'm pretty sure ready to go. And then there's a few tracks that still need some work, but we just got to start releasing things one song at a time. I had a greater ambition at the beginning of the year to have release a song every month and have videos come out every month, but we just really don't have the resources time to make that happen. So I think we're just going to release the songs and get them out there.
Well, that first song was really amazing, and actually the editing of that video was pretty incredible too, and it really kind of shows off everybody's swagger, if you will, the costume and the badass performing and all that kind of stuff. So I just hope, I can't wait for the other songs to start coming out, and then the full release, and then, like I said, hopefully to see you guys play again live. Alicia, why don't we have you introduce yourself and share some of what what your role in the band is?
I am Alicia. I'm one of the dancers on the dance. I do. Whoops, it was Kylie. And so I do. And then sometimes, if the theaters allow, I do aerial. And thrown around as an acrobat with stilt-walkers before, so it's a whole slew of fun stuff. It is definitely.
I may have you here. Is
What?
this you here? Is that someone else?
That's
No.
Kai.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's from a couple years ago
Hi.
too. But these were
Yeah.
pictures that my friend Paul Kraft, who's actually tuned in, he's a rather excellent photographer, and he took a couple different photos from a show. So I'm just putting them up on the screen.
Jane.
Right.
There.
And then
Yeah.
And that's Kai again.
so yeah, there was just some cool. That one with the hula hoops is really, really cool. So anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. I cut her off, and
I
she
think
just
we
left
lost
the show.
Alicia, yeah, and all that
She was
all
just
the
like,
photos,
how
we
dare
lost
you
her.
interrupt me? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So I'm actually classically trained dancer. My
Excellent.
background is mostly ballet. And I've choreographed a piece, like a newer piece this season to really fun and Fosse style. Yeah, and I was I'm moving to Portland from Detroit and from New York, but I bounce around with dance company. I went to my first show and I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane, and I want to be part of this. So one of the part of the dance team at the time, I kept bothering her. I was like, I need to be. That's how I ended up a part of it. So it's really quite awesome.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Well, thank you for all that. And I also love the fact that we've got a little bit of flavor of everything. Like we have horns, we have bass, we have percussion, we have dancing, we have stilt. And so like we're really getting that little bit of different perspective on it all there.
I think it's...
Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Phil. I was going to ask a question, but it may take a little longer of an answer. So go ahead, Phil. You may have a shorter thing that you wanted to mention there.
No, what I was going to do was bring in another performance of one of the recordings of a live show. Just so they can get
that
more
was
of a
actually
sense of
what my question was actually going to be about, which is I'm curious with all of these different moving components.
Yes.
What a rehearsal looks like for March 4th.
We even had a guest one. Look at this.
I got the wrong man.
Well, all right. So John mentioned that in the chat, but I had that thought at the beginning. So John and I are simpatico on this one. But I'm really curious what that looks like but on top of it, Alicia mentioned her training. Daniel, when he was on earlier, mentioned that he is, his background. Obviously, you're picking up very talented musicians and dancers and artists. And I'm intrigued what a rehearsal looks like for this.
Uh-oh. It looks like Ethan wants to take this one.
Yeah. Ethan's frozen again.
He's frozen. He'll
be back.
He freezes up. So I can take the dancer side of it.
Do it.
Okay. So for a long time, like when I first joined the band, we had a really nice core group of dancers in Portland. And there was a couple of different pieces that came in and out. But us as a dance unit were able to take a few of the songs that were kind of like open from the band. We would ask John, like, hey, give us a list of 5 songs, we'll listen to them and we'll figure out what we can work with, and then we'll write something and either send them a video, or just that first day on tour we show up to sound check and we're like, cool, can you guys play this? And if they play it exactly like the record, which is what we've been rehearsing off of, then sometimes that works out. Or sometimes we rehearse off of like a live track and then we use that, and then it can be different depending on what personnel we have on. So, just like any sports team would do, you got to kind of dial things in. We've got the core components, we have our parts individually rehearsed, but we all have to come together, at that first sound check. Hopefully, ideally a day before or two in town, everybody can get together, horn players included, horn players, percussion, everybody, and we can do something like that. Which actually the images from that the video Evening the Score, I believe, are from a photo shoot, which was also tied into a rehearsal that we were doing that day.
Nice.
I think it was all because we're like, we have everybody in town, we might as well do it.
Yeah, right. Ethan, you looked like you wanted to add something to the rehearsal commentary.
Connected for a second, but it was a juicy question. I would say only shorter. But I thought that we should, if we haven't heard from him yet, about what it's like to be tour manager, all this. But I don't know what he has to say about it, if he's connected right now.
That's to you, Mars.
That's what. Okay.
Yeah, Mars. I guess it was like the tour managing and the rehearsal and the herding of the cats, if you will.
Yeah, it's wild because there's so many people and we're so spread out. So rehearsals, I mean, in terms of the whole group being together, it mostly happens when we're on the road. It's pretty rare that have a chance, we'll organize a rehearsal in Portland before a tour if we have like multiple new members coming in and we happen to have time to do that. But it's, really we rely on having people who are able to learn things on their own.
Sure.
I've done gigs where I learned a new tune on the airplane on the way into New Orleans and then jumped on stage and played it.
Wow.
That's obviously that's not the goal, but that's what ends up happening some of the time. We have to have people who are capable of working like that. So we'll do, we'll take little sectionals. Usually we know we've got some time. We're working on a tune. We'll find a little time, on the road to have sectionals on our own and
Sure.
work out the sections we worked out. So then when we do have a spare minute, actually all on stage while we're sound checking, we can get through it real quick and figure out, do we need to keep working on this or are we ready to try it out? So
yeah, it is pretty amazing because I can. So John is another part of like our circle, the guy who asked the question in the chat, and David, I understand where their question is coming from because you guys all sound so tight on stage that it sounds like it is an incredibly, like, extremely well rehearsed piece. And I actually read along the way that because of the distance and so on, that your ability to rehearse is limited. And it just speaks to the talent because there's songs too where it has to be tight, like Inventing the Wheel. There are these stops and starts where it's like if somebody forgets that it's like, oh wait, we were supposed to pause, it's like it's gonna sound like not what it's supposed to, and it just sounds so good every time. And especially with how hard it hits when you have 15 people hitting that note at the exact same time, it's like it make you feel it in your chest, and it is very, very impressive. And again, to hear that it is somewhat just raw talent mixed with wherever you can rehearse, it just is quite remarkable.
Yeah, it's funny. I just want to mention that. So you're talking about, you saw us at Bethlehem, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at those photos that you put up a minute ago, and that was a noteworthy tour for me because it was very hard because we had a couple of subs on that tour with not a lot of time to prep.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had to rehearse at those dorms in Bethlehem before the show because we didn't have things down. That's because Ethan and Michelle were not on that tour because they were having a baby.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good reason not to be there. Congrats.
Yeah, so
I can remember watching percussion people talking to each other like mid-song, and I was like, oh, they're talking about Here Comes the Change or whatever, but they nailed it every time. Like, it was just amazing. Like, they could just obviously either feel the music or just know and go off cues, but very impressive. And again, I think that nonverbal communication is one of the coolest things to watch happen, and musicians do it all the time. And it was very, very cool to see, because not only was it that, but it was super supportive. Like, clearly no one was getting upset with anybody if something was slightly off or whatever, and you just carried it. So it was very cool to watch that, like, almost sub story going on amidst the music. It was very cool.
Yeah. We yell at each other after the show, not on stage.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. We all together, 19 of us, sardined into a bus. So you got to remember
mention that to Phil. You've never been in a touring band.
No.
After the show, there is like, the chorus of this song on bar 4. Like,
yeah.
Any other music fest stories from the festivals? Because you guys have played a bunch of them. So, like, anything else about our town or the festival or anything else that you remember from the different festivals?
Those blinky cups don't really seem to die. Sometimes I'll open a cupboard and there's just blinking in there. Those blinky drink cups you get there.
Yes, yeah. The mugs that you can get the light up kind. You're right. That thing has gone through the dishwasher and it still lights up.
Yingling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a lot of Yingling. It's a big supporter.
Actually, I can add something. I think maybe 20. You said we came in 2016, right?
That was the first one that I ever saw, yeah. But you guys already had a reputation of being a must-see show.
And you've been there after that, too. You were 17, 18,
and
the first time that I saw you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That would have been probably right in the timeline where I would have like started doing circus. Because I joined the band as a lighting designer. We did play the Yingling Brewery, I think, on like one of my first tours.
Mm-hmm. That would be like what, an hour plus north of us? Not too far.
Yeah, maybe about an hour. About an hour north of where we are.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah, that was what, a couple of years later. But It may have been a thing, but
Mm-hmm.
from the lighting perspective and saying in preparation and talking about like rehearsals and things like that, me being brought on as a lighting designer and roadie was a how do you say, ballsy decision by the band. And I'll admit that I just kind of bullshit my way through that that interview process. I was friends with another stilt-walker, Phil, who was a part of the band.
Good name.
Yeah, for a good chunk of time. And he was like gunning really hard to be this like stilt walker in the band and tour with them because he like idolized another guy in the band and worked really hard. And then I came in, and within like 2 months, I was able to like jump on board because they had this idea of having a lighting designer. And I had done lights like in high school, but
Sure.
very minimally. And I found myself, traveling all the way to the East Coast with a bunch of people that I'd never met before, about to run lights.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? And I sat in front of this console and it had like 37 faders on it. And I was just like, okay, sick. Okay, great. I know exactly what I'm doing. This is going to be awesome. I think I spent like 4 hours at that console before the show, just like learning as best as I possibly could to not totally blow it.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah, because I was on a 5-week tour at that point, because that was back when we did those grueling 5-week tours.
Mm-hmm. I actually just found my picture from 2016.
Hey, there you go.
So I don't know if you can lean in and look at that thing, but that was before I knew how to take photographs. Way too much above. But anyway.
You should see the pictures of his kids as a result.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Everyone's just their eyebrows.
Oh, here. I'm sorry. People were still looking at it.
One of them.
Yeah,
or a bus.
So yeah, that's from a super long time ago. Anyway, I thought too we might close this thing out with playing a little bit of music again. This is now going to be one that's a little bit more of what a live show looks like, not at Burning Man and not like from the more edited stuff. So this is a little bit more of the kind of the raw energy of the show. It's the song "Push It Back." It's definitely one that people like to sing along to and kind of get into it and that kind of stuff. So we'll play a little bit of this. Again, I'll kind of lower it down so that we can talk over it a little bit, and then I guess we'll start to wrap things up. I can't believe we've already we're almost at an hour here. Time flies when you're having fun with MarchFourth. Yeah. But here's their song "Push It Back."
Immediately, everybody's seeing who's on stage to figure out which group this is. Hey, look, it's me.
I was kind of hoping that was you.
That is me. It's funny because A-Town, one of the original stilt-walkers, it looks a lot like me on stilts. And I wear all of his old outfits.
Yeah, that helps.
And again, I this is great to also show the full energy, but also the costumes and the sheer, like we were talking before about how it's 4 drummers, 4 percussionists with a kit almost split between them. And this really kind of gives that a good show. And the brass is just so powerful. I can't believe the stilt walking with the, like, picking people up and like bumping into each other. My goodness, I don't know how you do that, but
it's one step at a time, like everything in life.
Yeah, and these shows they're hot in every sense of the word too. So expect to dance and sweat and just have an amazing time. In the Portland area, do you get people to dress up a little bit more, like almost kind of join in the fun?
All over the country, actually.
You do? Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. Yeah, Colorado is huge for us in that department. We get a lot of people who come out and wear their own regalia, if you will, of the band.
They dress up in Phoenix, Reno.
Yeah, in Phoenix as well. Yeah.
Ethan, I think in this one you're wearing the helmet that has like the stag horns coming out of it.
Actually, Cheo, previous member of MarchFourth. They look.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Go, Michelle.
Yeah, he
Go.
didn't leave me any costumes.
I don't think they would have fit you the same anyway. You're very different shape than Cheo was.
I'm never going to think you're the same person.
The man in the tall hat is Dan, one of the founding members, and your roommate in college, right, John?
We weren't roommates, but we met in college.
Yeah.
And Michelle, is this you?
Yeah.
You are
This is
crushing.
me.
Look at that.
Oh, Barry.
Barry
Miss
Stack
Hell
solo.
is
Go,
bringing
go, go.
hell. How about that? Let's bring this up a little more.
Yes.
So fantastic. That is a badass trombone. What is that? Is that a... That's got to be a special kind.
Oh, is it? If it's mine, it's just a tenor with an F attachment. So it's got some. It's like an orchestral horn, custom built, big rose brass bell and an F attachment. Honk out the notes a little better, and yeah, I love that. It was actually a gift from a friend. Got a big inheritance back in high school, and I'm very lucky to have it. I love that horn.
Yeah, and Miss Hell, the sax you're playing was large and deep.
In charge.
And in charge.
And yeah, that's the baritone saxophone. But use my from the our baritone player John Van Cura. We pay back. I'm a former member. John has to stay home for a while. I have him back. Anyway, all that said, I borrowed the horn from him, but I use my own mouthpiece. So I can go up there and try and
Thank goodness.
signal the mothership.
So excellent. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to show again, like a little bit of a live show there. We showed Burning Man. We showed kind of the recording in the beginning of the brand new music. What else would you like to promote? In addition to the new music coming out, we've got the shows. So people should go to MarchFourthBand.com and go ahead and promote whatever you got. Let's see, sling whatever you got going out there.
Oh, geez.
Well, we're about to head into Colorado. We're gonna do a couple of shows. We'll do a show in Fort Collins and Basalt. We got one in Denver and Durango.
I think I can do this
and
here. Let's see what this does. I think this will come up on the screen.
Yeah,
There we go. Yeah.
yeah. And then we head down to the
technology.
Southwest,
So yeah.
to have some good times in some sunny weather before it inevitably goes gray.
So yeah, it looks like you've got a swing, like a Halloween leg,
right?
And then basically a New Year's set of shows coming up in Washington, up in Washington.
I'm going to request a show right now.
I love it.
Phil's going to request a show specifically at his house. So if you
I would
see
be
that
down for
address
that.
come up,
Yeah.
Great. We'll be there.
I mean, if it's good enough, we probably accept some bribes in there too. Like a big pot of like chili cheese will go far. But
I have to
tolls,
confirm
gas,
who I
and
am.
chili will basically get the job done.
Sometimes it depends. It's got to be a lot of chili and accommodations for 19 to get there.
Well, listen, it'll be worth it.
You bring the bread, we'll bring the.
Thank you guys so much. Well, that's well timed.
Yeah. I was gonna plug your peanut butter.
Oh, right. Yeah. I own a peanut butter company. That's who's commenting on your Twitch feed with the it's
Nice.
Portland Spicy Peanut Butter.
Nice.
Great peanut butter.
It'll be available on tour with the band when we go out for that Halloween leg tour. So if you're listening in Colorado or New Mexico,
John's
Washington,
dog
yeah.
has joined us as well.
Nice.
Yeah, give the dog
That's pie.
See if we can get her to look at the screen.
He came armed with squeaky toys.
That's a New Orleans dog.
My poor dog downstairs is barking. You probably can't hear him at this point in time.
And John is starting to look like the banker from Deal or No Deal. So it's probably time to close things out. So thank you all so much for spending time with us tonight, sharing all these stories, and also again for your absolute utter talent and energy on stage for every time that we've seen you perform. Really, really love to see you guys and wish you nothing but the best. Can't wait for all the new music to come out. And I just put in my request for a Bethlehem, Pennsylvania show on your site, so that's obviously going to happen. And can't wait to see you come out east maybe next year for Music Fest even.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, thank
Excellent,
you,
excellent.
Philip and David. Appreciate it. And when you're ready to get some fight music for that gauntlet that you have to throw down now that you have a trademark on your next favorite band.
That's right.
Yeah, maybe
We know who to
can
talk
be
to.
Yeah. Oh, and one last funny story. So you get a report when you try to go trademark something, and it gives you like things that are anywhere near the universe of that same thing. And you came up on the list because you've trademarked "This band is your band."
We have half the words in our trademark.
And I couldn't believe it. It was just last week that I'm looking through. I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, you're looking through. I'm like, "This band is your band." And down the right side was the who owns it, and it said MarchFourth. And I was like, what are the odds of that? They're coming on my show next week, and it happens to be the same thing. So there you go. Nobody can use your next favorite band, and nobody can use "This band is your band." The people on this show right now, we own it. So go pound.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please do.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Oh, I was just plugging shit. Eat Portland spicy peanut butter and drink live juice.
Drink live juice. Absolutely. They own a juice company down in New Orleans.
So there you go.
Doesn't
Peanut
travel as
butter,
well as peanut butter does.
juice.
It doesn't.
T-shirts, vinyl whenever they come out, and go see the show. And definitely pick up all the new music that they've got coming out. Thank you so much, MarchFourth. Such an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you in Bethlehem sometime soon.
Excellent. Can't wait.
Come to Denver for Halloween.
David.
Philip.
MarchFourth. Crushed.
That would be, that was hard enough to coordinate a conversation. I cannot imagine what it's like to conduct that. Right? But I guess that's what, charts and, sheet music and coordination and whatnot beforehand is all for.
Absolutely. And what did you say at the opening? It was a kaleidoscope of visual and audio energy or something like that. That's what this whole interview was that too. It was an onslaught.
It went the way I anticipated because of the nature of how that has to go, and that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. And so that was super fun. So happy to have them on.
A total blast. I would actually love to dive into, so what does Tuesday look like? Like those kind of it feels like that kind of mechanics comes into play.
Yes, and I do want to see at some point, I hope they even put it on YouTube or something, some sort of a demo of the transformer that is the inside of that bus, because it sounds fascinating. It's basically tables and chairs that convert to bunk beds and a kitchen that turns into a bathroom. I don't know. It sounds amazing.
It sounds like the greatest, camper ever assembled. And I'm undermining all the work that goes into that.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so, yeah, just we're going to keep on trucking. And we're going to bring on continual great acts. Like we keep saying, we're set up to bring you this every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time through the rest of the year. We've got some exciting stuff planned for holiday spectaculars, and then obviously off into the new year.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming up, and then don't forget about checking out the bands we've already had, so that you make sure if you miss something, you can go catch it and get caught up. And see what's going on.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got the YouTube channel that has all the prior interviews on there. If you missed one, there's
or
the
download your favorite podcast episode, whatever way you want to take it in your eyeballs, take it in your ears, whatever your way of doing it is.
Right. Eye holes, ear holes, whatever you got.
Both at the same time.
Exactly.
Nose holes. I don't know whoever made that happen. Way to go.
Right. Excellent job. But it's probably time.
Yeah, it's been time.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We'd like to sincerely thank all the cacophony, cornucopia, kaleidoscope, we said it before, of just absolute supreme talent and energy of MarchFourth. John, Kylie, Michelle, Miss Hell, as it went. Daniel, Mars. We also had Alicia, a couple other, Ethan. There were people who came on the show we weren't expecting. We loved all of that. So thank them all for joining us, and be sure to, again, like we said, check out their website, purchase some merch, check out their show, all the new music they got coming out. And if you happen to know them beforehand, thank you so much for joining the show. But please subscribe. Like we said, we've got some great stuff coming down the pike here. Jackson Pines, Fox Royale, the Family Crest, and then some people who are like music supporters, people who are not musicians themselves, but people or organizations that are there to kind of help out. So we hope to catch you at a live show soon.
It's all over now.